Good morning, this is Bob Passy, and this is the first of several video blogs that I'm going to start. It's about the political situation in the United States, and my focus is mostly on democracy and how to salvage what we have left of democracy, and to be sure that people understand how significant this election is this year. I would say that the key piece about saving the democracy is to understand that we have pretty much an oligarchy at this point, and if we don't do something about it right now, we're going to lose the remnants of what is left of a democracy. Already we have almost no voice by the ordinary people and the workers, and as a result, the ordinary people and the workers are suffering about program cuts and almost all of the productivity of the workers and the efforts of the entire community are being transferred to the pockets of the very rich. Everything, it is a rigged system. They have changed and institutionalized all the things that benefit them, and even our tax money is used, well, I mean, for one thing, we are funding the Congress that is working against us pretty much, or making sure that nothing can happen. The other thing is that almost all our tax money is going to either subsidizing corporations or businesses, and developing ideas that transfer our tax money to the to the corporations. Almost the entire budget of the connected with war goes to corporations to produce things that we then blow up and then we have to replace again. I mean, there's the soldiers are there pretty much to put a nice front on it, but the real goal of the wars, I think, are to continue to transfer money from our taxpayers, which are now the middle and middle class and below, into the hands of the very top people who have almost all of the money in our society. As a matter of fact, we should be clear that we don't have a society that is poor. They also say we can't afford things. Well, we can't afford things because they have taken all the money and they're not willing to share it. They used to pay, when I was young, they paid up to 90% of the very top brackets. And everybody knew the rich were rich, and Rockefellers were rich, and we all knew it. And the people in my hometown, which is a small town in Minnesota, were rich, and they had the nicest cars, and they had the best of everything, and everybody knew they were rich. So it wasn't like they didn't have any status or they didn't have any incentive. But now the tax rates for those people are nominally about a third of what they were then, and then they find all kinds of loopholes to not pay their taxes. So we're paying the taxes, and the taxes are no longer going to benefit our citizens, but are simply being transferred to the rich and powerful, and so much of the society has been privatized, and so the prisons now are not a public function. They are run by private corporations, and the result is that we have prison costs and the number of prisoners, actually the highest percentage of any place in the world, because it's profitable. So we have health care that's a problem, mostly because it's profitable. We're using fossil fuels not because they're good for us, but because it's profitable, because they control all the money, they control all the levers of power in the society, the media, the government, all of the establishment, and they will not let anything interfere with that unless we are willing to rise. So I want to suggest that we begin to look at an idea called, well, a lot of versions of this, but I would call this idea democracy rising, that the people are going to rise and they're going to say enough of this, and whatever the establishment says, they're going to say no. They're going to say, no, we cannot any longer do this. If we go any longer, you're going to have consolidated it so much that we'll never be able to get into it. The vote is one of the last things, remaining elements of democracy, And we are in the process of seeing that being diminished because they're limiting the number of people and who can vote. In other words, the elite get to vote, and the people they don't like that might vote against them are being cut out of the system. And that will, in 4 more years, that will be, they'll have locked that down. The other thing is that as we live in a society that is more and more under the surveillance of the NSA and secret organizations, if we don't vote our way in, it will be hard, because anybody who speaks against the state or against the establishment will, I mean, they can Photoshop anything they want. They can, if they listen in on all your phone calls and can watch your computer and watch you every minute of the day, then they can put together something that's going to look incriminating, and then they'll call you a terrorist, and then you'll disappear. They have the right to do all those things, and so it will be very hard to have any kind of leadership to lead. I don't know what else to call it, a rebellion against those things that are just not acceptable. That will change us from citizens to simply subjects serving the whims of the people in power. Anyway, again, this is Bob Passy, and this is the first of several video blogs about what's going on in this country, and my special concern is democracy and making sure people have a voice. Thank you. Bye now.